The Old Testament teaches in the book of Leviticus that you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Well, at first glance, the meaning of this commandment may seem self-evident. It is not. What does it mean to love another person as yourself? And who is my neighbor? Is my neighbor those of my family, my extended my family, from only my culture? Does my neighbor include people who are not part of my culture and religious background? If an enemy lives close by, is he automatically considered my neighbor? These and other related questions were asked by the Jewish people, which brings us today to today's gospel passage. In the passage, a scholar of the law asked Jesus, "Who is my neighbor?" The scholar was expecting Jesus to interpret the book of Leviticus's commandment to love one's neighbor, and Jesus did so by telling the scholar a story, a parable. There are four principal people in the parable: a priest, a Levite, a Samaritan, and the victim. The victim was traveling from Jerusalem, where the temple is, down to Jericho. As this man was traveling down to Jericho, he was beaten almost to death and left on the side of the road. Later that day, a priest, a Levite, and a Samaritan also traveled individually away from Jerusalem to Jericho. It is important to note that the priest and Levite were traveling away from Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is where the Holy Temple was located. They're traveling away from the Holy Temple. This is important to note, since some claim that the priest and Levite did not want to help the person who looked dead, since the priest and Levite wanted to be obedient to the law, which did not allow a person to enter the temple if the individual had contracted impurity by touching a dead body. However, comments Petrie, the priests and Levite were traveling away from the temple, not to it. Luke also does not offer this as an explanation, nor does Jesus in his parable, and Jewish law does not support this explanation, that the law forbade the priest and the Levite from touching the dead body. On the contrary, according to Jewish law, cites Petrie as recorded in the Mishnah, a high priest and a Nazarite may become impure to bury a corpse with no one to bury it. If one of them comes across the corpse of a Jew, there is nobody else available to bury it. He must bury the body. This means that, rather than following the law, the priest and Levite disobeyed the law when they both refused to tend to the man on the side of the road, who looked dead. Surprisingly, the Samaritan, who is not bound by this law that prioritizes love of others over ritual purity, went to what looked to him a dead body by the side of the road, realized that the victim had not died but was alive, and ministered to the victim. Today may we examine our lives and place what is most important, love of God and love of neighbor, above all else, lest we risk, borrowing from C.S. Lewis, losing both what is of secondary importance and what is of first importance, since we placed what is second above what is first. God bless.